In the previous story, Sakayanagi finally exposed Hashimoto's betrayal after presenting evidence of his secret meeting with Ryuen. As a result of that incident, Kamuro was officially expelled from school. Before leaving, Kamuro left behind a message, saying that she hoped the traitor would one day suffer the same fate. This part will focus on the direction of Ayanokoji's future, his father's planned visit to the school, and Hashimoto's confession about the reason behind his betrayal of Sakayanagi. The story will also begin to show the atmosphere of the training camp involving students from different school years. Alright, without further ado, let us continue.
去年と違うのは
The story begins from Yamamura's point of view. As we already know, Yamamura is one of those students who rarely receives much attention from others. Even inside the classroom, her presence is hardly noticed because she usually keeps to herself and does not stand out very much. Yamamura has been used to living that way since childhood. She is not good at communicating and has always spent her days with very little social interaction. Even after entering high school, Yamamura still believed that her life would continue quietly in solitude, just as it always had. Still, something inside her slowly began to change. For the first time, Yamamura started feeling an emotion she had never experienced before. The feeling was so unfamiliar that even she found it difficult to put into words.
じゃあ、考えといて。
Several months later, the story continues after the latest special exam has ended. At that time, the second-year students were shocked by the news that Kamuro had been expelled from school. Many students were surprised because Kamuro was known to be very close to Sakayanagi. Quite a few of them never expected that she would be the one who ultimately had to leave the school. Although the incident caused quite a stir, the atmosphere did not last very long. Sometime later, school life returned to normal as usual. In the middle of that routine, Ayanokoji headed to the faculty room to meet Chabashira. At the time, the school was holding counseling sessions between teachers and students to discuss each student's plans for the future. That day happened to be Ayanokoji's turn to attend the session. Before moving on to the main discussion about his future, Chabashira first asked Ayanokoji what he thought about the school. She wanted to know whether there were any parts of the school system that he believed needed improvement, and whether he had any complaints about his school life so far. Ayanokoji calmly replied that he was fairly satisfied with the current system. Up to this point, he also did not feel that he had any complaints serious enough to bring up. After that, Ayanokoji instead mentioned the changes he had noticed in Chabashira. According to him, when he first entered the school, Chabashira's expression had looked much more rigid and less friendly. But now she could smile and seemed far more sincere than before. Ayanokoji even admitted that back then, he had never imagined that one day he would see Chabashira smiling the way she did now. After that, their conversation finally moved to the main topic, which was Ayanokoji's future. Chabashira asked whether he planned to continue his education at university after graduation or enter the workforce right away. In response, Ayanokoji explained that the path he would take in life would most likely be decided by his family. For now, Ayanokoji had not made any personal choice of his own. His only goal was to meet his family's expectations. Chabashira listened to his explanation seriously. As a teacher, she naturally did not want one of her students to choose the wrong path for his future. Because of that, she wanted to make sure that whatever decision Ayanokoji eventually made would truly be something he could carry through with full responsibility. For example, if his family asked Ayanokoji to continue his education at university one day, Chabashira wanted to know whether he would truly be ready to do it. Ayanokoji answered with confidence. If he had to continue his education at university, he was certain that he could get accepted into any university he wanted. That answer made Chabashira even more convinced that Ayanokoji must have received an extremely high-quality education since childhood. Even so, there was still one thing she wanted to know. She asked whether Ayanokoji actually had any personal desire or specific goal that he genuinely wanted to achieve for himself. Ayanokoji then shook his head. Up to this point, he still did not have any dream or personal goal that he truly wanted to pursue. Because of that, following his family's direction remained the only goal Ayanokoji could truly understand. Still, Ayanokoji added that if he ever found a dream or goal he genuinely wanted to achieve, he would definitely talk about it directly with Chabashira. Chabashira understood what he meant. From Ayanokoji's explanation, she concluded that the discussion about his future would probably need to be handled more seriously between herself, Ayanokoji, and Ayanokoji's family. Their conversation then moved on to another topic. Ayanokoji asked whether his father was really going to come to the school. Chabashira confirmed that he was. She explained that she had already contacted Ayanokoji's father by phone and had been told that the man was willing to come in person. At first, Ayanokoji's father had only planned to send a representative, but for some unknown reason, he later changed his mind and decided to come himself so he could discuss his son's future directly. Hearing that, Ayanokoji was quietly surprised. He began wondering why his father was willing to come all the way to the school himself. That sudden change of plans made Ayanokoji even more suspicious that there might be another purpose behind the visit. What exactly was his father planning? For now, even Ayanokoji did not know the answer. Several hours later, night arrived. Ayanokoji already had plans to meet Karuizawa in private. But while he was on his way to Karuizawa's room, he happened to run into Hashimoto inside the elevator. From his behavior, Hashimoto looked like he wanted to discuss something fairly serious. Because of that, Ayanokoji eventually allowed him into his room. Once their conversation began, Hashimoto immediately brought up the latest special exam, which had ended with Kamuro being expelled from school. According to him, Class A had lost because information had been leaked by a traitor. Hashimoto then revealed that his classmates had started suspecting him of being the person behind the betrayal. Even so, Ayanokoji did not show much interest in the topic. He did not even immediately ask why Hashimoto had chosen to betray his own class. Judging from his response, Ayanokoji seemed more interested in ending the conversation as quickly as possible. He said that he already had plans with Karuizawa. His words sounded like a subtle hint for Hashimoto to finish his business and leave. Seeing Ayanokoji's cold attitude, Hashimoto turned the question back on him. He wanted to know whether Ayanokoji actually understood the reason behind his betrayal. Ayanokoji answered calmly. In his opinion, Hashimoto's reason might have something to do with private points. It was possible that Hashimoto wanted a large personal reward, and a motive like that sounded reasonable enough. But that answer only made Hashimoto slightly annoyed. To him, the conclusion was far too simple. He did not want to hear a generic answer that anyone could come up with. Hashimoto wanted to know Ayanokoji's personal opinion honestly. Since he did not get the answer he was hoping for, Hashimoto finally decided to speak openly. He admitted that the real reason he betrayed Sakayanagi was because of Ayanokoji. It all started when Hashimoto once suggested that Sakayanagi bring Ayanokoji into Class A, but the proposal was immediately rejected. Hashimoto felt that his opinion had not been taken seriously, and from that moment on, he decided to act in his own way. That was the beginning of his betrayal of Sakayanagi. After hearing the explanation, Ayanokoji still responded calmly. He did not understand why Hashimoto was so determined to move him into Class A. Ayanokoji also made it clear that he was not as extraordinary as Hashimoto or other people seemed to believe. Even if he were actually offered a place in Class A, there was no guarantee that he would accept the invitation to join Sakayanagi's class. There were many things that needed to be considered, so a decision like that was not as simple as it seemed. Hashimoto understood that the situation was indeed much more complicated. After that, he began talking about the difficult position he was currently facing. After committing the betrayal, Hashimoto was certain that Sakayanagi would soon come after him. Even so, judging from his tone and attitude, he seemed to have already prepared himself to face Sakayanagi directly if necessary. From their long conversation, Ayanokoji began to understand one thing about Hashimoto. Hashimoto was the type of person who was basically unable to truly trust anyone. Perhaps that was why he always kept his distance from others and did not hesitate to make extreme decisions whenever he felt the situation demanded it. In short, time continued to pass, and Karuizawa would be arriving soon. Because of that, Ayanokoji and Hashimoto finally decided to end their conversation. Before Karuizawa arrived, Ayanokoji planned to go to the store to buy something. Hashimoto also happened to be heading to the same place. Since they were going in the same direction, the two of them decided to go together. After leaving the elevator and heading toward the store, Ayanokoji and Hashimoto ran into Morishita. Morishita immediately greeted them, but her tone sounded rather sarcastic. Without the slightest hesitation, she openly called Hashimoto a traitor. Naturally, Hashimoto immediately denied the accusation. According to him, there was still no clear evidence that could truly prove he was the person responsible for the betrayal. Even so, Morishita continued to insist that Hashimoto was the traitor. She did not stop there, and then accused Hashimoto and Ayanokoji of secretly planning something together. In her view, seeing the two of them in the same place was suspicious enough. She even described their meeting as some kind of secret consultation. Hashimoto looked slightly irritated, but he still tried to remain calm. He explained that their presence there was purely a coincidence, because both of them simply happened to be going to the store. But Morishita did not immediately believe his explanation. She continued accusing Hashimoto, before suddenly saying that she also wanted to go to the store to buy a few things. In the end, Ayanokoji, Hashimoto, and Morishita headed to the store together. Although the atmosphere between them felt slightly tense, there did not seem to be any other choice but to accept the situation.
誘ってくれたことに悪い気はしないが。
After arriving at the store, they unexpectedly ran into Yamamura, who was shopping. The moment she saw Ayanokoji, Yamamura immediately greeted him, although her voice sounded a little nervous. Ayanokoji had actually noticed earlier that Yamamura had been watching them for quite some time. He suspected there was a strong possibility that Yamamura had been ordered to monitor Hashimoto's movements. As usual, Yamamura's presence was extremely faint and easy to overlook, but Ayanokoji had always been used to paying attention to his surroundings, so he already knew that Yamamura had been staying not far from them for a while. While they were shopping, a small incident happened. Without asking for permission first, Morishita began putting several items into Yamamura's shopping basket. Seeing this, Ayanokoji immediately called her out. Morishita then explained that the items were simply recommendations from her for Yamamura. Ayanokoji calmly pointed out that judging from her expression, Yamamura did not seem very comfortable with the way Morishita was treating her. Not long after, they ran into someone else Ayanokoji knew, Kiryu-in. With her usual way of speaking, Kiryu-in immediately recommended her favorite tea to Ayanokoji. She then teased him by asking whether the two girls with him were his new girlfriends. Of course, Ayanokoji immediately denied it. He then formally introduced Yamamura and Morishita to Kiryu-in. Hashimoto was also there, and took the opportunity to introduce himself as well. After greeting all of them, Kiryu-in left the store. Hashimoto looked fairly surprised to learn that Ayanokoji was acquainted with Kiryu-in. Even so, Ayanokoji explained that their relationship could not really be considered very close. After buying everything they needed, they finally went their separate ways and returned to their respective dormitories.
少なくともあんたよりはね。全然いいの。
A few days later, Thursday morning arrived. The students began preparing to leave for the joint training camp involving different school years. According to the original plan, each class was supposed to have one bus. Since there were 12 classes across 3 different school years, there should have been a total of 12 buses. But when the students gathered, they were surprised to see only 9 buses. After looking into it further, they discovered that the third-year students were only using 1 bus instead of the 4 buses they should have had. It turned out that only 5 students from each third-year class, Class A, B, C, and D, had been sent as representatives. This meant that only 20 third-year students were participating in the training camp. Meanwhile, on the bus Ayanokoji was riding, Karuizawa sat right beside him. During the trip, Karuizawa invited Ayanokoji to watch a movie with her. At first, Ayanokoji hesitated to accept the invitation, but after learning that the movie would be released on March 26th, while the school break before the new academic year was still ongoing, he eventually agreed to go with Karuizawa. After all the students arrived at the training camp, Chabashira began explaining the activities they would be doing. She first made it clear that this training camp was not a special exam. That meant the activities would not affect class points, and no one was at risk of being expelled from school. In short, the training camp was meant to be a more relaxed activity, where students from different school years could interact and build relationships with one another. Chabashira then explained that several students could not participate because they were sick, including Ichinose. This was one of the reasons why each third-year class had only sent 5 students as representatives. In addition, the school would form a total of 20 groups during the training camp. Each group would be led by a third-year student. After giving that explanation, Chabashira began handing out sheets showing the group assignments. As soon as she saw the list, Karuizawa seemed slightly relieved because she had not been placed in the same group as Ichinose. Ever since the latest special exam, Karuizawa still felt awkward whenever she thought about Ichinose. In some ways, she even seemed a little afraid of having to face her directly again. Although this training camp was not competitive like a special exam, the students still had opportunities to earn personal points. So even if a group lost a match, they could still gain some benefits from the activities. Even so, several students began to complain after seeing the group assignments. The problem was that, according to the data from the OAA app, Nagumo's group seemed to contain many highly capable students. Because of that, some students felt that the group distribution was not very balanced. Chabashira responded to the complaints calmly. She explained that even though Nagumo's group did have many strong students, that did not guarantee they would win every match. After all, this activity was not a serious competition. The main purpose of the training camp was simply to have the students complete various simple games while interacting with students from different classes and school years. The training camp itself would last for 3 days. On the first day, the students would take part in 5 matches. The second day would have 7 matches, and on the third day, they would participate in another 7 matches. That meant there would be a total of 19 matches. Each match would last for 30 minutes. During every session, each group had to choose 5 representatives to participate. The games prepared by the school were also fairly relaxed. Some of them included playing Uno, flower arranging, table tennis, and various other light activities. Because of that, Chabashira once again emphasized that this training camp was designed as an opportunity for the students to relax, while also building stronger relationships with students from different classes and school years. So, that is the recap for Part 1 of Volume 11 of The Classroom of the Elite Year 2 light novel. In this part, the story focuses on Ayanokoji's future, his father's planned visit, Hashimoto's confession, and the beginning of the joint training camp that brings together many important students. For now, it feels like there is nothing else that needs to be explained, because everything is already clear. So, just wait for the continuation in the next part.